Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work and your family?
Okay. Well, my name is Debbie Costa, and my husband is the facilities manager here, Tony Costa, over at the community center. So if you've been over there, you've probably seen him. I have 3 grown children, and I work at Vision of Hope. I'm a second shift supervisor and a counselor, NAEG certified.
Wanted to get that in, didn't you? Debbie, could you tell us a little bit about what God has allowed in your life, especially in this last year?
Yeah. Well, about November 2009, I started working with someone who was going through a lot of physical difficulties, and so I read through Johnny Erickson Tada's book, When God Weeps, and I read through that a couple times, and that was really encouraging. But what I didn't know was that the God that goes before us was preparing me. So about January of 2010, I went ice skating with the girls of Vision of Hope, and I thought I was in great physical shape. I was skating with 16-year-olds, 21-year-olds. I'm 47. Life is good. In fact, I was going to tease them a little bit if they were sore, and I wasn't, but turned out they weren't sore, so. So I thought I was on top of my game, healthy and all that. And a few weeks later, I started noticing like some abdominal bloating. Put up with it for about a week. My doctor was on vacation, so I went to urgent care. And they kind of said, well, you know, it's probably just gas. Just take some, you know, whatever. And so throughout that week, it just kept getting bigger. And so, let's see. I was taking some college classes at the time, and so I was standing at my kitchen island doing my homework because my back was starting to hurt so much. And so I'd be doing that for hours, and then one night I just said, Tony, we gotta go to the emergency room and see what's up. So we went to the emergency room, and in the emergency room I was like, we gotta go home, this is stupid. And he said, we are not going home. So we stayed.
Just like that?
Yes, very firmly. So we went and had a CAT scan, and the doctor was talking to Tony while I was gone, and oh yeah, this will be nothing, she'll be fine. When he came back in the room, it was a different story. He was he was a wonderful doctor and very caring, and he just had a very worried look, and he said, I want you to take this very seriously. You need to see a OBGYN oncologist as soon as possible. So that was something that I had never heard. Like me going to an oncologist, I go to the doctor and they say to me, have you ever had this? Does this in your family? And I say, no, 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 no. And everything's always good. And do you drink alcohol? And do you take caffeine? And no, no. And so just never expected that. So that was Saturday night. And then by Wednesday, we were in seeing the oncologist. By that time, if you looked at me, you would have thought I was 6 months pregnant. And we stayed in a hotel the night before because I'm just getting nervous because it seemed like there was going to be a snowstorm. So we stayed in the hotel, and that night in the hotel was I just watched the clock go by, tick, 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 because it was so much pain because the stomach was so enlarged. So went to the doctor. Found out that I had 10-centimeter cancerous masses on each ovary, and it was the cancer cells that were producing the fluid, so they were just pumping fluid out. So I had the doctor remove the fluid, and it was like 4+ liters of fluid that were removed, and instant relief. It was wonderful. So by that, the next Monday, I was in the hospital having surgery and found out that I had stage 3 ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer is called the silent killer because it's usually so progressed by the time you find out that you have it that the recovery is tough. So I was told that I have a 1 in 3 survival rate. So,
and that's in 5 years, right?
Well, if you make it 5 years, then you know it's good. Or you pretty much are good. So it's just that you just don't know. Which really is what we all are. None of us know what holds tomorrow. And we all think we're healthy, and none of us knows it, and none of us can control it. So So went through chemo about 4 weeks after that, and the whole usual chemo thing. And also, though, this year God has really blessed me. My husband is great, a huge, huge support. And there were times when I was even, I just felt too tired to talk to him. And I'm like, Debbie, sit up and talk to him. And then I just didn't. And my church family was wonderful. And they gave me just so many cards and meals and things. And even though I'm crying, honestly, this year at our Thanksgiving dinner, we went around the room and said what we were thankful for. And if I had one word to describe my year this year, it's joy. God has given me tremendous, tremendous joy.
I don't think people who get ovarian cancer think of the word joy. So how is it that Christ has brought you to that place? What was it about He and His Word that really got you from the shock of, I have stage 3 ovarian cancer, to I have joy, and I'm thankful for all that God has done in the past year?
So immediately I just started thinking about the character of God. And God is in control. He's always in control. God is in heaven, and He does whatever pleases Him. And He wasn't surprised about this, and He wasn't sleeping, and He wasn't too busy. And He knew about this long ago when I was a little girl riding my bike, and He knew that this was for me. And God is not only in control, but He is loving. And He loves us. And He did not spare His own Son. He's not going to start giving up now. He loved us when we were enemies, so He loves us. So God is in control, and He loves us. And He's wise, and He knows way better than we know. And His plan is perfect. And my plan's kind of lame. Like, honestly, if I was going to make if I was going to make my plan, it would be, let's just have happy little safe lives. And God's plan is better. And so with just thinking about His character, like, what He does for us is good. He's always good. And so in His great plan, He's doing something really, really good. And I started to think about how I think we view our lives like this is our lens, and inside here is me and my family and my friends, and just keep me and my family and my friends safe and happy. But God is thinking about the whole world, and He's reconciling the whole world to Himself. And to do that, He needs us who will be willing to suffer in front of others so that others can know Jesus. So it's kind of exciting, like, that God would entrust me with this, to use me as part of His plan. And so it's like this. If God is loving and good and wise and powerful, and He can do whatever He wants, and He knows what's the best thing to do, then I want to be part of it. And let's go. Let's do it.
One last question. I think many of us, if we were to be honest, if someone came to our counseling ministry and told your story, we'd be a little intimidated by that. Maybe we'd be thinking, I haven't suffered like that. How is it I can help? So could you give us just a little bit of advice on how to minister to hurting people? What are some of the things that people have said to you that were really encouraging and were helpful? And maybe some things that, well, they really should have thought through a little more carefully.
I think it's wonderful that people care. But sympathy doesn't help anybody. Like Psalm 61:2 says, when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And I need more than sympathy. And so I need truth. And so I think it's what Paul Tripp says when he says, we have to enter their world. We have to see where they're struggling. And just because I have cancer doesn't mean that I'm struggling the same way someone else with cancer would be struggling. And so, someone else could be worried about financial problems, or what's going to happen to my kids, or maybe they have guilt that they need to resolve some relationships, or maybe they're afraid to meet God because of their guilt. And for me, my hardest struggle is I get that Romans 8:28 and 29 is for me. I struggle with knowing that it's for my husband. So I guess it's just that everybody struggles differently, and you have to ask questions. And so, and the other thing is everybody, no matter how they're struggling, has to know how big their God is.
Well, can we give her a round of applause?